Hey guys, welcome to Peripheral Vision, and today we're taking a look at the UltraRacer 64 for the Nintendo 64 by Performance. So the UltraRacer 64 is a very odd looking controller, as you can see from the box art, and the box is actually kind of boring. It's got all its features and stuff here. Flip it around, it's got its button layout, and I'm going to be explaining all that in just a little bit. But Performance, the company that made it, is actually pretty bad about having boring box art. It's always just picture, description, title, all in very uniform font, very professional. But let's open up this boring box and see if there's something more interesting inside. As you've probably already noticed, the UltraRacer 64 doesn't look quite like a traditional Nintendo 64 controller. It looks more like an old TV remote, which is weird, but let's look past the weirdness and see what this thing has to offer. First, on the top, you can see we have this dial. And this dial functions as a steering wheel because this is a driving game specific controller. On the side you can see this felt-like material, and that helps you get a grip on the dial. On the front of it, there are the 4 C buttons. Now, directly below it, we've got these 4 smaller buttons which function as the D-pad. And then we have the L, Z, R, and start buttons. There's 2 more buttons here, but I'm going to talk about them in just a sec. Flip it over, and we have the A and B buttons, and you can see that they are on this toggle, so if you press down, it will hit the A input, and if you press up, it will hit the B input. There's also a switch on the side which allows you to turn off that trigger, I guess so that you won't accidentally squeeze it during a menu or something, and that's kinda neat. It's well prepared, I guess. The idea is that you steer with the dial, and you press the gas down, which is usually the A button, just by squeezing it, so it's sort of instinctual. And that's a really great design. But there's even more that comes with it. You see, the UltraRacer 64 is what is called a programmable controller, which means you can change what certain buttons do on it. For example, let's say you wanted the R button to behave like the Z button, so whenever you press the R, it would act like you were pressing Z. How you do that is, first you press the set button at the bottom here. Then you press the button that you would like to be reassigned, which in this case is R. You hear a single beep to confirm that it hit. Then you press the button that you want it to now act as, so Z. So now the controller thinks that the R button is the Z button, so whenever you press it, it'll act like that. Now the extra button here is just in case you want it to be mapped to this area. For example, let's say you wanted one of the triggers back here to be the extra button instead. That would be helpful for you. So you could just clear out the set by holding it down, then press it again, hit one of the triggers, then press the extra button, and now the extra button acts as the A trigger. And that's really neat. But the thing is, I don't personally understand how that would be helpful. I guess that there are benefits for people that specifically play driving games and for some reason would need those buttons to be in different places, but for me, it's an interesting feature, but it's an unnecessary one. In fact, there's a lot about this controller that I find interesting but unnecessary. It's a cool novelty with the whole trigger on the back and steering wheel up here thing, but why? There's no real benefit to using this over using a standard Nintendo 64 controller. So I'd say for people that love the weird and unusual world of peripherals, this is a neat thing to pick up, but if you just want to sit down with some friends and play Mario Kart, just use a regular controller. Later days.